Floor leader has the sole authority to recall any bill, report, resolution, and/or other legislative documents from committee. Now, this authority to recall shall not be subject to appeal to the House. But in order for the floor leader to exercise that authority, we look at Rule 10, Section 7C, which says no bill, resolution, or other matter may be recalled or withdrawn from committee except upon a motion by the floor leader and adopted pursuant to Rule 11. And this motion to withdraw or recall from the committee is undebatable. Mr. Speaker and members, Rule 10, Section 7C allows or recognizes the floor leader's authority to withdraw it. But it sets forth the manner in which such a bill, resolution, or other matter may be recalled. So the floor leader does have the authority, and he can exercise that authority by placing a motion on the floor for a vote. And if that's what our rules say, then let the floor leader offer that motion. As of right now, it is still in the committee until such time that the floor leader offers the motion and the motion passes, subject to Rule number 11, which is voting. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Council. Can you again go back to Rule number 2?
Again, we have the two rules. There actually may be a conflict between the two rules, and in a situation where we have a conflict, the Speaker is given the authority to decide all points of order and interpret the House rules subject to an appeal by any House member. So the decision as to which way to proceed to place the item on the agenda is with the discretion of the Speaker. In this case, the matter has already been accomplished by placing the item on the agenda pursuant to Rule 2.
Mr. Speaker, can I ask the legal counsel a question?
Proceed.
Mr. Mr. Cole, does the two rules, or do the two rules conflict? Like I said, I just finished saying, I don't see them conflicting. One gives the authority to the floor leader. The second prescribes how that authority is to be exercised. Is that a conflict, John?
It's a conflict in that the provisions of Rule 2, subsection 4C, and also D, apply to action taken prior to the session to place the item on the agenda. The provision in Rule 10, Section 7C would apply after the session is convened. So I would say there actually is a conflict. One of them is pre-session, and the other one is a provision that relates to that item being recalled during the session. Required because Section C contemplates action by the entire body.
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, can I take a stab at this for clarification? Under Rule 2, the authority of the floor leader and the Speaker, to prepare the calendar prior to session. If you're looking at Rule number 10, it's motions. The only time you offer motion is during a session. So if we were in session and to place a new bill on calendar which is not there, then the floor leader has the authority to offer that motion on the floor. But prior to any session, we apply under Rule 2 in preparing the calendar. I hope that brings clarification.
And that's how we, us decided that.
That's right.
I recognize Representative Tony Suman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know that the floor leader's question on how a bill gets on a calendar for introduction without a motion. You know, we're not talking about putting something on the calendar. We're talking about a business that is still in committee that has been put on calendar without the proper motion. And let me go back to legal counsel again, if I may. Mr. Koo, how do you read the word "except" under Rule 7, Section 7C? And then let me, before you answer, if I may, it says no bill, resolution, or other matter may be recalled or withdrawn from committee. Now, the last time I knew this issue was still with committee because we haven't reported it out of committee. And it continues, except upon a motion by the floor leader adopted pursuant to Rule 10. Now, how do you read that except provision part of that rule?
I would interpret the provisions of Rule 10, Section 3C to apply to matters that take place during a session. During a session, a motion would be made by some member or a request to the floor leader to recall a committee report or bill or resolution.
It's been done, I think, a few times. The motion was to recall the bill from the floor. So this is not a motion that it's the decision of the speaker and the floor leader to place the resolution calendar.
No. I will yield to Congressman
Recognize
Ray.
Representative.
Well, I don't know why just all of a sudden it becomes an issue for the floor leader to pull out any resolution, any bills at his will. As a chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, this is not uncommon. How many times does the floor leader and the speaker pull out bills that are not being completed? So why not just asking that? Why now just becoming an issue? Thank you.
Recognize minority.
Thank you. Under normal circumstances, Chairman, we don't normally do that. You're right. Most committees are given the time to conduct their work. I think the only times we've exercised, or the floor leader has been asked to exercise that authority, is when bills stay in the committee for months, or in some cases over a year. I think, and you recall the sessions when it's been in the committee for a very long time. I don't think that's the case this time. Standing committees are given up to 60 days to report back to this body, to report back. In this case, it does nowhere near 60 days. The committee is only asking for a few more days, a week at the most. Like I said, it is just so that the committee can finish its product and report to the members. Mr. Speaker, tiyanak ko sti tagagawa. Tiyanak ko. Zati tumo afa na unsedi komitea, pero jogi chisot niya. Zanista maktugi parayotti mo. Taja gimagay ginagagawa sti, pero ma-finalize ni committee ni LA, zani legal counsel. Este komitea munajan chetsunia, Mr. Speaker, for your information, esta ma-deliberate, ma-receive todo the testimonio, esta ma-vote pago. Taja ginagago pago i-staffa, pero ma-prepara, jo ma-fidma i-committee report. Yan na, tisinya lukit expecta staff, pero matsogyasti overnight. Mr. Speakers and members, Zota Bureau staff man matsotsocho kada dia estagwanya la setti gipupuengi za makkat pat ekspektasya po manafunon na zanay i write up ginapuengi sa sigenti dia guatalo otro siya testimonyo eno nang gagago po manafunon sa na chetsunya i komite ay members esta manafunon afa po matsoge taza pogo ginagago staff po nafunon jan nang gagago at least para membros siya sinya maina kabolis hafa ginagago ang lekta na impepelo or mapopolo na para ma-impeacha todo. Mr. Speakers and members, esta guaha gina articles masodda na inconclusive findings. Article 15 po the remittance category retirement fund. Members pago mavota za ma-reject na article sa inconclusive. Tawad sa tagagogo pago na parewa na class in treatment umanai members no malii umaina kabolis. Fino Mr. Sablan, talinay truth kumuahit pestavon no. Lo an magahit nisita lo kita tabota sigun giafa ebidensya ginagago. So, Mr. Speaker, todo the committee man online and no na class in no beneficio. I-beneficio gini pa members. Sa niuno na member gini sinya tay todo do afa i-committee bidada niya po mag-gather i-public comments dyan i-informasyon. Eno na inigi-cheche committee pero preparaji pamalo so presenta gimonan niya kosa ki afa na desisyon po ma-bota dinansi or at least klaro. And not, Mr. Speaker, Jesus Mosi.
Mr. Speaker.
How do we recognize the attorneys of
Just
second?
clarifications.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just so that we are in order and the clerk can help me out. Are we under the question posed by Congressman Yuma, which I believe has been answered, or are we at Congressman De La Cruz's improper motion, or are we on the main motion adoption of this resolution?
Representative De La Cruz.
Motion to recall from calendar and place back to committee. Thank you, clerk.
Tony Sablan, representative.
Again, Mr. Speaker, Jesus Mosi, in response to Congressman Boss's question earlier, it is true that on some occasions during this legislature we have recalled bills or resolutions from committee, but generally it's because of the duration that the particular legislation remains in the committee. But in all circumstances, we've always turned to the chairman of that standing committee, and I've always given the chairman of that committee and its members the due respect and ask whether they have any objection to the recall action being proposed. And we talk about waste of time. We are only requesting, the committee is only requesting for the short extension so that it allows again the committee to provide the materials and information made available to the committee during this past 30 days so that the members can make a sound decision, and that is what we're asking, and I've said it before. That is why the committee arrangement is there for. It is there to do the legwork for the members that are not members of that committee, and in the end, the work that comes out of the committee is the report that provides the necessary information for every member to make a sound and educated decision. I am surprised that members that have not participated in the proceedings, that have not heard the testimonies, that have not reviewed the video footages, that have not reviewed the documents submitted to the committee, are willing to put themselves in a position and vote today, knowing that they lack the information to make the decision. And a lot of people have mentioned the waste of time issue. I would agree that this would all be a waste of time if we don't grant this committee this next few days to present its product to every member. Again, Mr. Speaker, I appeal to you as a member of the committee that have sat in on these hearings day after day to allow our legislative bureau staff to conclude their work on behalf of every member in this body. Thank you.
Wala be recognized si Vice Speaker sa kanay niya.
Yes, I only want to point out that we are now discussing the motion offered by our floor leader to adopt House Resolution 17-111, and that motion has been seconded. And Mr. Speaker, I would like that we proceed with our discussion. This is the time now, and we can take all today to go through the discussion and go item by item. And then vote on the resolution.
Point of clarification. Mr. Speaker, I believe the Vice Speaker is incorrect. Our House Clerk has just explained what motion is on the floor right now. And it is not the floor leader's motion. It is Representative De La Cruz's motion via a subsidiary motion. And Clerk, again,
It was seconded on the motion for the adoption on the
Right.
original. Yes,
Right.
17-111.
it was
Right.
seconded. Under discussion, a subsidiary motion was offered. That was seconded. That is, the first motion, Mr. Speaker, has been replaced by a subsidiary motion. Council or Clerk,
So,
Malabi recognize si Representative Santos.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. And this is in reference to the committee report. I understand that one of the main components of a legislative history for a bill or resolution for this matter is a committee report, which contains analysis and recommendation on the bill or resolution. So may we know what transpired that impedes the progress of a committee report? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Council. Yeah, Council, can you respond, I believe, to Minority Leader's
Sorry, I was checking on the appropriateness of the motion that was made by Mr. De La Cruz at the time. So could you repeat your question, please? No, you have this.
Floor Leader, can you repeat that motion before, so we can hear what also the Representative De La Cruz is saying, motion, subsidiary?
I was looking into the subsidiary motion, and I didn't hear Representative Santos' question.
Well, it was a statement and a question. Would you like me to repeat the question, John? Thank you. My question is, may we know what transpired that impedes the progress to complete a committee report? What happens? Why is it that, our committee report cannot be produced now? Thank you.
The response would be appropriate to come from the chairman of the committee, if you're going to entertain that.
Mr. Speaker, before we continue, as the clerk stated, we were under Congressman De La Cruz's motion. Can we get clarification if that is a proper motion so that we can continue?
Under Rule 10, subsection, or Section 3, it lists the appropriate subsidiary motions to a main motion. And the fourth item is to commit or recommit to the committee, with or without instructions from the House. So I believe that's the motion that was made.
Mr. Speaker, can you
Recognize.
repeat what you have just said, John, and then tell the members if that's an appropriate subsidiary motion to be made at this time?
That's what I said. It is an appropriate subsidiary motion. Yeah, appropriate.
Ready, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker.
Recess, Mr. Speaker.
Second.
Recess, Mr. Speaker.